Hi, welcome to Lies and Secrets channel. We hope you will have fun with us. Enjoy watching. In the heart of 1960s America, nestled in a quaint suburban neighborhood, I, Sophia, live in what appears to be a picture-perfect life. My husband, Jack, is a charismatic and ambitious man, his sights set on becoming a regional manager. Our home, a modest but well-kept raunchy house, is filled with the warmth of family life, especially with our beloved beautiful dog, James, a loyal and affectionate cane corser. I've always been the heart of this home, managing the household with grace, supporting Jack's career aspirations, and keeping the undercurrents of tension at bay with a smile. Today I'm preparing for a dinner party, setting the table with my best china, the clink of cutlery, echoing in the quiet house. Jack is late again, his work often keeping him away, leaving me to manage the social obligations alone. James, sensing my mood, lays his head on my lap, offering silent comfort. His eyes, full of understanding, seem to say, "I'm here for you, Sophia." The doorbell rings, signaling the arrival of our guests. I put on my best smile, ready to entertain as I open the door. Cool evening air brushes against my face, carrying with it the scent of autumn leaves and the distant sound of laughter from neighboring homes. "Good evening, everyone, please come in," I greet, ushering our friends into the warmth of our home. The house fills with chatter and the clicking of glasses as I serve appetizers, my mind occasionally drifting to Jack's absence. As the evening progresses, the absence of Jack becomes a topic of whispered concern among the guests. I catch snippets of their conversations, their voices low but curious. "Has Jack been working late again?" One asks. "It's not like him to miss a dinner party." Another replies. I excuse myself, stepping into the kitchen for a moment of solitude. Quiet here is a stark contrast to the lively atmosphere in the dining room. I lean against the counter, taking a deep breath. When I hear Jack's voice, it's muffled, coming from the phone in the study. His tone is sharp, demanding, and it sends a chill down my spine. "Listen. I need those figures by tomorrow morning." "No excuses," he snaps, his voice echoing slightly in the quiet room. I pause, my hand hovering over the kitchen sink. What could he possibly be demanding now? And why does it sound so urgent? My mind races with possibilities, each one more unsettling than the last. I remember the last time he was this insistent. The night he came home late, his shirt slightly misbuttoned, his eyes avoiding mine. The memory of that night, the subtle hint of another woman's perfume, lingers like a ghost in our home. Shaking off the memory, I return to the dining room, my smile now a mask covering the turmoil. Inside, the guests are none the wiser, engaged in their conversations, their laughter filling the room, but my heart isn't in it. My thoughts are with Jack, wondering what he's hiding, what secrets he's keeping from me. As the night winds down, I find myself alone again, cleaning up after the party. James, ever my companion, stays close, his presence a small comfort. I glance at the clock. It's past midnight. Jack's still not home. I sit at the kitchen table, the remnants of the evening spread before me. The silence is heavy, filled with unspoken questions. I pour myself a glass of wine, the deep red liquid swirling in the glass mirroring the turmoil in my mind. What is Jack up to? Why does his work always come first? And why does it feel like there's a part of his life I'm not privy to? These thoughts swirl as potent as the wine, as I wait for the sound of his key in the door, for the answers that might never come. The morning light filters through the curtains, casting a soft glow over the quiet house. I sit at the kitchen table, a cup of coffee cradled between my hands, the steam rising in gentle curls. The silence is almost oppressive, a stark contrast to the lively chatter of last night's dinner party. Jack, having returned late, is still asleep, his absence at the table a palpable void. I sip my coffee, the warmth doing little to dispel the chill that is settled in my bones. My mind wanders back to the previous night, the whispers among our friends, the tension that seemed to thicken the air. And then there was Jack's phone call. His voice, sharp and demanding, echoed through the house, a stark reminder of the distance that has grown between us. I remember the early days of our marriage, when laughter was our soundtrack and love was the air we breathed. Jack was different then, his ambition tempered by a warmth, a kindness that seemed to have been swallowed by his relentless pursuit of success. Now his demands have grown, his control over our lives tightening like a noose. James, our cane courser, rests his head on my lap, his eyes full of concern. He's always been my silent confidant, his presence a small comfort in this sea of uncertainty. I stroke his fur, finding solace in a simple act of connection with a deep breath. I decide it's time to confront Jack to seek the truth behind his late nights, his mysterious calls and the shadow that seems to follow him like a specter. I raise my resolve, firming with each step towards a study. The door creaks as I push it open, revealing Jack amidst a sea of papers, his face etched with lines of stress. He looks up in surprise, flickering across his features before settling into a mask of composure. "Good morning, Sophia," he says, his voice strained mourning. I reply, my tone calm but firm. "We need to talk, Jack." He nods, gesturing to the chair opposite his desk. I sit, the leather cool against my skin, a stark contrast to the warmth I seek. "Last night I begin your absence was noted. And then your call. What's going on, Jack?" He sighs, running a hand through his hair. "It's work, Sophia. The pressure is immense. I'm so close to that promotion, but there are complications." "Complications?" I press, leaning forward. "What kind of complications?" He hesitates, his gaze dropping to the papers before him. "There are things I need to handle, things that require a certain level of commitment." I frown, the pieces not fitting together. "What kind of commitment, Jack? What are you asking of me?" He looks up, his eyes meeting mine, a storm brewing within them. "I need your support, Sophia, not just your emotional support, but I might need you to be involved in some business dealings. There are people I need to impress to keep on our side." My heart sinks, involved. "Ha!" He shifts uncomfortably. "There might be events, gatherings where your presence would be beneficial. And perhaps there are certain favors I might need from you." The word favors hangs in the air, heavy with unspoken implications. My mind races, piecing together the late nights, the secretive calls, the subtle hints of another woman's perfume. Is this what he's been hiding? Not just work, but something more personal, more intimate? "Jack, are you asking me too to entertain your colleagues in ways that go beyond just being a hostess?" My voice is steady, but inside a storm rages. He doesn't meet my eyes, his silence confirming my fears. "It's for our future, Sophia, for us to have everything we've ever wanted." I stand the chair, scraping against the floor. "I won't be part of that, Jack, not for your career, not for anything. What we had, what we built. It wasn't supposed to be this." His face hardens, the edge, and his voice more pronounced. "You don't understand the stake, Sophia. This isn't just about me proving myself. It's about securing our future, our stability." I shake my head, the betrayal cutting deep. "Our future or yours? Because from where I stand, it looks like you're willing to sacrifice everything we have for your ambition." The room falls silent. The only sound, the ticking of the clock on the wall. Seconds stretching the distance between us. Jack's eyes are dark, his expression unreadable, but there's a flicker of something. Regret, perhaps, or the realization of what he's asking. "I need time to think," I say, finally turning to leave. James follows me, his tail low, sensing the tension as I step out of the study. The weight of our conversation settles over me like a shroud. What kind of support does Jack really need from me? And what sacrifices is he willing to make, or rather have me make, for the greater good of our future? Questions swirl, as potent as the coffee I left behind, now cold and forgotten on the kitchen table. Days pass and the tension in the house grows palpable. Jack's demands become more explicit. One evening, after another late night at work, he sits me down. His words are cold, calculated. He tells me that our marriage is on the brink, that he needs something from me, something that would ensure his promotion, something that would bind me to him in a way I could never escape. He speaks of an act so degrading, so unthinkable, that I feel the room spin. He wants me to engage in an act with James, our beautiful dog, under the pretense that it would prove my loyalty and dedication to him. I'm horrified, my mind racing with disbelief and revulsion. Jack's ultimatum is clear. Do this, or he will leave me taking everything, leaving me with nothing but shame. The next few days are a blur for me, my days filled with mundane tasks, my nights haunted by Jack's demand. I feel trapped. My love for Jack battling with my sense of self-worth and morality. The house, once a sanctuary, now feels like a prison. Every creak of the floorboards, every shadow in the dim light, seems to whisper Jack's twisted proposal. I can't look at James without a wave of nausea, his innocent eyes now a mirror to my own turmoil. I try to distract myself, throwing myself into chores, but my thoughts are a relentless storm. I scrub the dishes until my hands are raw, but the stain of Jack's words won't wash away the dinner parties, once a joy now loom over me like a specter of what's expected. One afternoon, while folding laundry, I find myself staring at Jack's shirts, the ones he wears to impress at work. Each button seems to mock me, a reminder of his control, his demands. I drop the shirt, my hand shaking, and James comes over, nudging me with his nose, his way of asking what's wrong. I sit on the floor, pulling him close, his warmth a stark contrast to the cold dread in my heart. What am I supposed to do? James, I whisper, my voice breaking, how can he ask this of us? The days stretch on, each one heavier than the last. Jack's presence at home is minimal, his absence a silent pressure. When he does come home, his eyes are distant, his mind clearly elsewhere on his career. On the next rung of the corporate ladder he's so desperate to climb. I start to avoid him, retreating to the kitchen or the garden, places where I can breathe without the weight of his gaze. But even there his words echo, it's for a future Ryla, for us to have everything we've ever wanted. But at what cost my dignity, my soul? I find myself at the kitchen sink again, the water running cold over my hands, washing away the soap, but not the filth of his request. The phone rings and I jump, my heart racing. It's Jack, his voice sharp, demanding Sophia. I need an answer tonight, he says, his tone leaving no room for negotiation. I hang up, my hands gripping the edge of the sink. The room spins and I feel like I'm suffocating. James, sensing my distress, wigs softly, his tail thumping against the floor in a futile attempt to comfort me. That evening, as the sun sets casting long shadows through the living room, Jack comes home. His steps are heavy, his face set in a mask of determination. He finds me in the kitchen where I've been standing, staring at nothing for what feels like hours. Well, he asks, his voice devoid of warmth. I look at him, really look at him, and see not the man I married, but a stranger driven by ambition, by a hunger for power that's consumed him. I can't do it. Jack, I say, my voice studied. Despite the storm inside, I won't. His face hardens, the lines of stress deepening. You're choosing this over our future. It's not our future. If it requires me to lose myself, I reply, my resolve firming with each word. I won't be part of this. Jack, not for your career, not for anything. He steps closer, his presence overwhelming. You don't understand, Sophia. This is about more than just me. It's about us, about stability, about you. I interrupt, my voice rising. It's always about you. What about me, Jack? What about what I want, what I need? The silence that follows is thick, charged with the weight of our unspoken battles. Jack's eyes flicker with something, anger perhaps, or the realization of what he's asking. I need time to think, I say, turning away from him, from the life we've built that now feels like a facade. James follows me, his tail low, sensing the tension as I step out of the kitchen. The weight of our conversation settles over me like a shroud. I walk to the garden, the cool evening air a balm to my heated skin. The flowers, once vibrant, now seem to droop under the weight of my sorrow. I sit on the bench, James at my feet, his head resting on my lap. The stars begin to twinkle above, indifferent to the turmoil below. I look up, seeking some form of guidance, some sign of what to do, but the night sky offers no answers, only the vast expanse of my own uncertainty. What kind of support does Jack really need from me? And what sacrifices is he willing to make, or rather have me make, for the greater good of our future? Questions swirl as potent as the coffee I left behind, now cold and forgotten on the kitchen table. I know one thing for certain. I must find a way out, a path that doesn't lead to the degradation of my spirit. But how the night stretches on, and with it my resolve to find a solution to reclaim my life, to save what's left of us, or perhaps to save myself from us. The days that followed were a haze of guilt and confusion. Jack's ultimatum had shattered something within me, something I wasn't sure could ever be pieced back together. I found myself rationalizing his demand, telling myself it was just an act, that it didn't mean anything. But deep down I knew the truth. It meant everything. The day arrived, the day I was to perform this unspeakable act. Jack watched with a detached coldness, his eyes devoid of the warmth I once knew. My hands trembled as I approached James, who looked up at me with his usual affection, unaware of the storm brewing inside me. Tears streamed down my face, each one a silent scream of protest against what I was about to do. The moment was brief, but it left a scar on my soul, an act so degrading, so against everything I believed in. Yet I did it for Jack, for our future, or so I told myself. But as I completed the act, a part of me died, a part that could never be revived. Jack, satisfied, left for work without a word, his departure as cold as his gaze had been. I was left alone, the silence of the house now a deafening roar in my ears. James, confused, whimpered at my feet, his tail no longer wagging with the joy it once did. The aftermath was a slow, torturous descent into a new reality. Outwardly, my life continued as before. I still managed the household, still hosted dinner parties, still smiled when necessary, but inside I was a shell hollowed out by my own actions. I couldn't look at James the same way. His innocent eyes now seemed to hold a question, a judgment. I avoided his gaze, my heart heavy with a betrayal I felt I had committed against him, against myself. Jack's touch, once a source of comfort, now felt like an intrusion. Each time he reached for me, I recoiled internally, the memory of that day, replaying in my mind like a broken record. My nights were sleepless, filled with nightmares where I was trapped, performing that act over and over, unable to escape. Self-loathing became my constant companion. I withdrew from social events, my once vibrant personality now a shadow of its former self. The laughter that used to fill our home was replaced by a tense silence. Friends noticed their concerned whispers reaching my ears, even as I tried to ignore them. "How's Sophia bien? She seems different." One would say she's been quieter, more withdrawn. Another would reply. I heard these comments, each one like a knife twisting in my already wounded heart. But I couldn't bring myself to explain, to confess the horror of what I had done. The secret was mine to bear, a heavy burden that threatened to crush me. Days turned into weeks, and the weight of my secret grew. I started to question everything: my marriage, my self-worth, my sanity. How long could I keep this up? How long before the facade I was maintaining crumbled under the pressure? One evening, as I sat alone in the dim light of the living room, James by my side, I realized the breaking point was near. The phone rang and I answered, my voice hollow. "Sophia, we need to talk." Jack's voice came through, sharp and demanding as ever. "About what, Jack?" I asked, my voice fairly above a whisper. "About us, about what happened. I need to know if you're with me on this, if you're willing to do what's necessary for our future." The word necessary hung in the air, a cruel reminder of the act that had torn us apart. I paused, my heart racing, my mind screaming for release from this nightmare. "To need time," I managed to Sammy, voice breaking. "I need to think." The line went silent for a moment before Jack spoke again, his voice softer, perhaps sensing the fragility of my resolve. "Take your time, Sophia. But remember, this is for us, for everything we've worked for." As I hung up, I looked at James, his head now resting on my lap, his eyes full of concern. I choked, his fur tears welling up again. "What have I done?" "James," I whispered, the weight of my actions crushing me. "What have we become?" The night stretched on, and with it my resolve to find a way out, to reclaim my life, to save what was left of us, or perhaps to save myself from us. The stars above offered no answers, only the vast expanse of my own uncertainty. But one thing was clear: I could not continue like this. The breaking point was imminent, and I had to decide what kind of future I truly wanted, what sacrifices I was willing to make, and what I was willing to lose. The breaking point came unexpectedly, like a sudden crack in the facade of our seemingly perfect life. It was at a neighborhood barbecue, the kind where the air was thick, with the scent of grilling meat and the laughter of children playing. I was there trying to keep up appearances, to smile, to be the Sophia everyone expected. But inside I was crumbling, each moment a reminder of the act I had performed, the act that had left me feeling so utterly alone. A neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, approached with a plate of potato salad, her smile wide and genuine. "Sophia James is such a well-behaved, beautiful dog. You've done a wonderful job with him," she said, her voice full of admiration. Her words, meant as a compliment, struck me like a physical blow. My facade cracked, I felt the bile rise in my throat, the shame and guilt overwhelming me. I excused myself, my voice barely a whisper. "I need some air." I rushed home, my heart pounding, my vision blurred by tears. The house was empty. Jack was still at work, and in that solitude I broke down. I sank to the floor in the living room, James at my side, his head on my lap, his eyes full of concern. I sobbed, the weight of my actions, the betrayal of my own principles crashing down on me. That's when Jack found me, his presence filling the doorway with a shadow of control. "Sophia, what's wrong?" His voice was cold, devoid of the warmth I once knew. I looked up at him, my eyes red and swollen. "I can't do this anymore. Jack, I can't live like this," I said, my voice breaking. He stepped closer, his expression hardening. "What are you talking about? Sophia, we've been through this. It was for our future." I shook my head, the resolve building within me. "No, Jack, it was for your future. I've lost myself in this, in what you've asked of me. I can't be part of this anymore." He knelt beside me, his hand reaching out, but I recoiled. "You're overreacting. This is just a phase. Sophia, we'll get through it." "No," I said, firmly standing up. "I'm done. I'm leaving. Jack, I'm taking James, and we're starting over, away from this toxicity." His face twisted, a mix of anger and desperation. "You can't do that. You need me. You need what I can provide. I need peace. Jack, I need to find myself again, not to be someone's tool." I spat out the word, the bitterness clear in my tone. He tried to manipulate me further, his voice softening his words, calculated. "Think about what you're giving up, Sophia, the security, the status. You'll regret this." But I was resolute. "I've already given up too much. I won't give up my dignity, my soul, for your ambition." The silence that followed was thick, charged with the attention of our fractured relationship. Jack's eyes searched mine, perhaps looking for a sign of weakness, a crack in my resolve. But there was none. I had made my decision. "I'm going to pack," I said, turning away from him, from the life we had built on a foundation of deceit and control. As I walked to our bedroom, each step felt like a declaration of independence. James followed, his tail low, sensing the gravity of the moment. I started packing, my movements mechanical, my mind racing with thoughts of what lay ahead. Jack didn't follow immediately. I could hear him pacing in the living room, the sound of his footsteps, a testament to his turmoil. When he did come, his demeanor had shifted. "Sophia, please," he pleaded, his voice softer. Now almost desperate, "we can work this out. I can change." I paused, a shirt in my hand, and looked at him. "Can you, Jack? Can you really change, or is this just another manipulation?" He stepped closer, his hands reaching out, but I stepped back, maintaining the distance between us. "I love you. Sophia, I don't want to lose you." I shook my head, the tears threatening to return. "Love isn't control, Jack. It's not about making someone do things against their will. I need to find out who I am without you." The room was silent except for the soft whimper from James, who sat by the door, his eyes moving between us. Jack's face was a mask of conflict, his ambition clashing with the reality of losing me. "I'm leaving tonight," I said, my voice steady. "I'll stay with my sister for now. I need space to think, to heal." He didn't stop me as I continued packing his silence, a heavy presence in a room. When I was done, I stood in the doorway, James by my side, looking back at the life I was leaving behind. "I hope you find what you're looking for, Jack, but I need to find myself again, and I can't do that here." With that, I turned, James following, and we left the house. The weight of our shared past, heavy on my shoulders, but the promise of a new beginning, however uncertain, lighting a small flame of hope in my heart. I packed my bags with a sense of finality. Each item I placed inside felt like a piece of my past life being sealed away. Jack tried to stop me, his voice a mix of desperation and control, but I was beyond his reach. Now I couldn't let him pull me back into the darkness he had created. James, my loyal companion, stood by my side, his tail wagging, oblivious to the turmoil that had engulfed our lives. His innocence was a stark contrast to the storm within me. With a deep breath, I walked out of the house, James's leash in one hand, my suitcase in the other. The suburban streets, once familiar and comforting, now seemed to stretch into an endless path of escape. I drove away, watching the neighborhood fade in my rear-viewed mirror, a symbol of the life I was leaving behind. Months passed and I found myself in a small town, a place where no one knew my story, where I could start anew. I got a job at the local animal shelter, a sanctuary for those who, like me, needed a second chance. The work was hard but fulfilling. Each day I helped animals find their forever homes, and in doing so I found a piece of my own soul healing. James, now older but still my faithful companion, watched over me. His presence was a constant reminder of what I had endured, but also of the love that had survived it all. One quiet afternoon, as I was sorting through donations, a letter arrived. It was from Jack. My hands trembled as I opened it, the familiar handwriting stirring a mix of emotions. Inside his words were an apology, a plea for forgiveness. He wrote about how he had lost himself in his ambition, how he regretted the pain he had caused. Tears welled up in my eyes as I read, but they were not tears of forgiveness. They were tears for the love that once was, for the innocence we had lost. I walked to the back of the shelter where we had a small fire pit for burning old documents with a heavy heart. I lit the letter, watching as the flames consumed the last vestiges of my old life. The smoke rose, carrying away the remnants of my past, leaving behind a clarity I hadn't felt in years. Looking at James, who sat by my side, his eyes full of understanding, I smiled. We had each other, and that was enough. We didn't need the shadows of our past to define us anymore. I stepped outside, the sun setting, painting the sky in hues of hope and renewal. The future for me and James was uncertain, but it was ours. Jack might never understand the depth of his betrayal, the extent to which he had pushed me away. But that was his journey, not mine. I had found peace in this small town, in the simple acts of kindness, in the companionship of animals, and in the quiet moments with James. As the night deepened, I lay in bed, James curled up beside me. I thought about what lay ahead. There were no grand plans, no ambitious pursuits, just the promise of a life lived on my terms with dignity and respect for myself. And perhaps one day I would tell my story not as a tale of betrayal, but as one of resilience, of finding light in the darkest of times. For now, though, I closed my eyes, feeling James's warmth, and let the peace of a night envelop us. The future was a blank canvas, and I was ready to paint it with colors of my own choosing. My story ends here. If you feel that this story is meaningful and brings useful lessons, please like and subscribe to the channel to support me. Thanks for listening, and see you in the next videos.